Take a moment and think about the future. Your future. 20, 30 years from now, you've had a career, you've worked hard, you've built a business, and now it's time to retire, kick back, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? Are you in a sunny climate? Are your feet in the sand? Are you happy? See, the thing is, our future is always going to be bright. We design our future. We are in charge of our future. But often, it's very easy to take our eye off the ball, to go through life with no plan, to go through life simply just focused in the now, chasing instant gratification, chasing things that add no value to our future. And no matter how rosy the future is that you picture for yourself, unless you take action, then it's never going to be a reality. So with that said, we know that we need to take steps. We know that there are certain things that we have to do. Why is it important to invest in your 20s and 30s? So hindsight is a beautiful thing. It's something that we all benefit from after the fact. And certainly in my lifetime, I know that there are things that I wish that I'd done now when I was in my 20s or even my early 30s. And the financial education system here fails us. We don't understand how the stock markets work. We don't know how compound interest works. We don't understand how the stock market can be used to create wealth in our lifetime. These things are all missing. And one thing that I've certainly learned in my career in financial services is that knowledge is abundant. However, the application of that knowledge is rare. And I'm a perfect case study for that. It took me 10 years working in the industry for me to finally understand or know to actually apply the principles that I've been working with on a day-to-day basis. And so with this video, I want to inspire you guys. I want to encourage you guys to take action early. I know what it's like. If you're in your 20s, you're probably not thinking about the future. I was that guy. I wanted to focus on having fun now. I always thought I'd get round to it a bit later on, but the funny thing is, you never do get round to it because you're stuck into a routine. We're creatures of habit. We get into a routine, we get into things that we like to do, we have our attention and our focus pulled left, right, and center. And the one thing we fail to do is keep one eye on the future. We begin to think about those things when we hit mid-30s, when we hit 40, even later than that. And I'm not past the 45 mark yet. I'm 40, so I guess I'm in a different mindset right now. But again, I want to inspire you to take action. So what I want to do is I want to give you tips that I feel are going to make a huge difference if you're in your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s like me. If you're in your 20s, you have one great advantage, and that advantage is time. Time. It's finite. We have limited hours, days, months, years, but at the same time, it's infinite. But we only get a certain allocation. If you're in your 20s, you are still with a huge amount of time in the bank. So please don't waste it. If you're in your 20s and you are working, there are a couple of things that I think are crucial for you to take on board. First and foremost, get into the habit of saving a portion of your income. I don't care if it's 10%, I don't care if it's 5%, I don't care if it's 50%, I don't care if it's 30%. And there needs to be a mentality, a mindset shift here. If you're working, which you probably are, then your employer is going to pay you for your time. It's up to you to flip that switch in your head to also pay yourself every single month. And to back this up, I'm going to give you some numbers that are actually quite staggering. So if you're in your 20s and you get yourself into the habit where you may have to sacrifice, and I really do mean sacrifice, because it may mean not going out with your mates once a month. It might mean not buying those clothes or those fashionable items. But if you were to sacrifice and invest £100 into an investment every single month, and you got an average return of 12% per year. Now, 12% per year is a big number, but I want you to understand how life-changing these numbers are. And I do mean life-changing. If you invest £100, get a 12% return every single year on average, and you invested for 40 years, you would have £1.2 million. Let that number sink in, £1.2 million. Now, I know there is an argument, because you follow the likes of Dan Locke. They will talk to you about the fact that you need to strive to have that money whilst you are young. This doesn't detract from you building a business, but forming this habit fundamentally gives you a pot of money that you can access later on in life that you will be so thankful for. If you started investing £100 at age 30 for 30 years, so you've lost 10 years, that £1.2 million becomes £353,000. That's a difference of £800,000. Time is your friend, and at 20 you have plenty of it, so please do not misuse that time. The second thing that I think is really important for you if you're in your 20s, do not ignore that pension. Now pensions have changed, and I know that it sounds boring, I know that it sounds old manish, but your pension is so important, and your pension could easily equate to another £1.2 million for you. Pensions have changed immeasurably. Your employer now has to pay money into a pension for you when you qualify. And you know, this is so powerful, because think about it. 40 years time, you save £100 per month, get those kind of returns, and yes, the returns are ambitious, but the markets historically have returned those kind of rates. And I'm not saying that they will, because we don't know what the markets are going to do, but the idea is that you'll have a pot of money that you can access later on in life, and you'll be able to continue to have a comfortable lifestyle without having to worry about money. We all know somebody, family, friend, relative, who didn't do any planning for the future and is now at that later stage in life where they start to panic because they're concerned that they're not going to have enough money to continue the lifestyle that they've enjoyed. I know that because my dad was exactly the same. He started to panic about pensions at age 58 because he didn't have one. That's way too late in life to start picking this ball up. So act whilst you can, act whilst you have time on your side, whilst you're in your 20s. So if you're in your 30s, the principles are still pretty much exactly the same. Compound interest works exactly the same. The numbers will be different for you though, because you've lost 10 years. You haven't started this when you're in your 20s. Therefore, it becomes absolutely crucial that you're more intentional with your goals and what you want to achieve in the future. And it's going to be challenging because, let's face it, in your 30s, you're probably in a career, you're buying your first home, starting a family, and you're going to have a lot of other things that are pulling you left, right, and center. But it's really important that you sit down and you get clear on what your future goals are, what you want to achieve. And it's paramount that you understand how your finances, whatever it is that you're earning right now, can be used to push you towards that future. In your 30s is no time to be living for instant gratification. You have to be pointed, you have to be intentional, you have to be focused on knowing what your goals are if you stand a chance of meeting your goals. Now, I just want to do a comparison in the numbers that I gave for in your 20s if you were to invest on a monthly basis. Now, I've already made the contrast and actually highlighted that, you know, if you start in your 30s and you only invest £100 a month, then you're only going to end up with £353,000 by the time you get to age 60, which is 30 years away for you. However, if you wanted to match £1.2 million, then it means that you've got to pay more in because you've got less time to be able to make that money. So for you guys, in order to match that £1.2 million, again invested monthly with a 12% average return, then you would need to invest around about £340 a month. As you can see, it's significantly more than what you would have to invest if you were in your 20s. It's 3 times as much. So again, it's really important. You've got to be intentional. You have to know what your goals are. You have to know how you're going to point your money. And if you don't know how to do it, find help. Financial coaches like myself can help you do that. Get everything out on paper, look at your circumstances, really dig deep in terms of what your goals are, and help you forge a path forward. So if you're in your 40s, it's important to acknowledge that you are starting the race late. However, late doesn't mean that you can't finish, and late doesn't mean that you're going to be at a guaranteed loss. The important thing is that you have to acknowledge and you have to realize that intention is key, execution is absolutely paramount, and you need real clarity on what your goals are and how you're going to use your money to push you towards your goal. And I know in your 40s you probably have careers, you have family, you have all kinds of things that are pulling you left, right and center, and that sitting down, getting clarity on your goals becomes even more unlikely because there's so much going on. But it's so important that you do. And there are a couple of tips that I am going to share with you. First and foremost, do not bury your head in the sand. It is not too late. I speak to so many people who believe because they're starting at 41 or 45 that it's too late. No, it's not. 15, 20 years is still a very, very long time for you to be able to amass some money into a fund of some kind. And not to mention, if you're 40, you probably got a clear advantage, which is the fact that you've probably worked at places and you've probably paid into pensions. So you will have past pensions that are being built up right now that will add value to you in the future. So where you've lost some ground, actually you've gained it in another way. So don't feel discouraged. But I will say this, get professional help. Get help with someone who can help you really plan what you want to achieve in the future and how you can point your money to help you to achieve those things. And I've mentioned pensions, but if you're in your 40s, now is the time to really attack your pensions. If you're an employee in a business, you're at an exec level, then you can do things like salary sacrifice. You can see if your employee will match your contributions. If you're self-employed, paying into your pension from the business is an allowable expense. Therefore, you save yourself money on corporation tax. It's really important that you use every vehicle available to you to help you build for the future. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching to the end. As you can probably tell, I'm really passionate about this subject. Watching my dad at age 58 panic about not having a pension has always stuck with me, certainly through my career in financial services. It's been in the back of my mind for years and years and years. And there is no time like the present to take action for the future. I don't know about you, but I'd rather plan for the future knowing that I prepared when I get there than not preparing for it at all. Now, if you've watched this video and you are in your 30s or your 40s and some of the stuff that I've mentioned has resonated with you, you're not really clear on what your goals are, you don't know how to point your money or use your money in a fashion that will help you achieve your goal, then please reach out to me. I'm a financial coach. This is what I do, and I've got a lot of experience in the investment world as well that I can bring to bear. But thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure that you smash the like button, subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you've not listened to my podcast, the artwork is right there. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts and Spotify. Until next week, take care.